ectopic ureters, ureterocele, ureteric strictures, and pelviureteric junction obstructions. In case of calyx, there may be calyceal diverticulums. Very rarely, pyelonephritis, which is a form of dilated nephrons that causes infection. So we have to methodically investigate where is the problem that causes this infection. Treating infection is one component, that is symptomatic management, but the real thing is to find out the cause. As Valluvar said, Noi Nadi, Noi Mudal Nadi, Adu Thanikkum, Vai Nadi, Vaipachayal. Just giving antibiotics to UTI is a symptomatic management. We have to find out the real cause, and in 99.9% of cases, there will be some anatomical abnormality, as simple as a vesicoureteric reflex. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, I would pose the question to Professor Rangarajan, sir. So, what is the role of investigations in this scenario, sir?
As Ravindran told, there should be an underlying pathology to have an UTI. Especially in a male child, the possibility of underlying pathology is more. In a female child, there may be an ascending infection. So to enumerate all the etiological causes, we have to necessarily do some investigation. Prior to that, we have to do a routine culture to find out what is the amount of pus or what is there confirmation. Then go for ultrasound. Ultrasound mostly gives a picture whether ureters are dilated or bladder is thickened, or is there any diverticulum, or what is the status of the kidneys, whether it is normal size or it is shrunk. Can give you a picture whether it is already there is infection. Then widening cystourethrecum is a very important investigation to rule out posterior urethral valve and vesicoureteric reflex. Most of the time we do, prior to that, we do a urine culture, rule out the urinary infection, active stage. Then we do a widening cystourethrogram. Then DMSA scan is a very, very important to know the extent of the scarring in case of urinary tract infection. These are all some of the investigations I would like to enumerate.
Thank you, sir. So now the role of antibiotics and surgical treatment, like in a typical case of UTI, we initially start with antibiotics, then proceed to investigate. But then where is the change of surgical management coming, sir? I think Professor Velmurugan will be the right person to answer.
Yeah, as Rangarajan sir said, you have a situation where every febrile, see, he said UTI is significant, especially a febrile UTI, irrespective of the age of the child. So once you have a febrile UTI, you have to find out whether this infection has affected the kidney or not. And for that, we have a fantastic investigation, DMSA. A DMSA should be done in every case of febrile UTI to find out whether the UTI has been significant enough to affect the kidney. It tells you the only investigation available in the world at present which can rule out pyelonephritis. Okay, so it also rules out, it also tells an indication about chronic pyelonephritis in the form of scars. Photopenia shows acute pyelonephritis, and scarring means that there has been some chronic pyelonephritis. Once a DMS, either you have a top-down or a bottom-up approach. Generally, if an ultrasound shows an anatomical abnormality, we do an MCU, and in many cases, we have a reflux. Now, what do you do in these cases? Simple, as you said, we don't want to go into management of simple UTI. UTI in the presence of surgical ones, commonly reflux. Now, reflux, to understand the management reflux, I'll be brief. You will have to understand how the kidney develops. Kidney is not, brain develops preformed. You have all the number of neurons you need throughout life at birth. Whereas in the kidney, it is a work in progress. The nephron units are added up till 7 years of age. So the maximum attrition or growth or addition of nephrons occurs in the first year of life. So any problem which causes an insult to the kidney in the form of a reflux and a UTI is going to be very significant. It is different from a reflux happening in an older child because an infant is small. So the head of pressure, it is small and mostly lying down. So when a reflux occurs, it is more likely to damage a kidney which is in the process of growing. So we'll have to stop that. Okay. Whereas in an older child, it is mostly upright and it is grown up. The kidney is well away from the bladder. The head of pressure is not significant enough. And second, even if there's going to be a reflux, it's not going to affect a fully developed kidney after 7 years. So the management differs. You can give any number of antibiotics after 7 years till the cows come home. Nothing is going to matter. But in a smaller child, an infant, 1 or 2 years old, you have to address it surgically if it is a high-grade reflux. There is no role for antibiotics there. Now, there are people, especially I have a big problem with nephrologists who keep on giving antibiotics, ask them to come for DMSAs, everything. Nothing more is more traumatic, monetarily, physically, mentally, than getting cultures monthly, DMSAs, third monthly. Nothing will heal that child. Surgery only is the answer because it's a 2-hour, 1.5 hour minor surgery, reflux, and it's a plumbing, minor plumbing. I will give you an analogy. You're going to have he spoke of gutter, garbage and gutter. That is how I got this idea. You have your water supply in your house has been contaminated by your sewage water. What do? You call the plumber and cut the leak. But then there is another approach. You say, okay, what if there is sewage? I will put potassium permanganate or bleaching powder and continue to drink the water for ages. That is another approach. To each man his own poison. If you want to do that, well, I can't. It's your choice. It's a free country. But that is not the right approach. You have a plumber available. You will do it in a short time and guaranteed results. Reflux, anti-reflux surgery is one where the results are reproducible, relatively good, more than 90% chance of complete thing and need not be on antibiotics for the rest of their life. So when indicated, high-grade reflux in younger children, you need to do surgery. There is no point in giving antibiotics indefinitely.
Thank you, sir. Professor Ravindran wants to make a point.
So my question is open to both the co-panelists. I agree with Dr. Velmurugan that isotope renogram is the best way of documenting renal scar, which is very, very important in the management of UTI. But sir, isotope renogram is not universally available, especially in peripheries. In such situations, what do you advise for the practitioners to follow?
I would not say it is universally not available. See, there are centers. See, Madurai Meenakshi Mission is a big draw for the center. Madurai Meenakshi Mission, Kaveri, South Trivandrum, Chennai, Coimbatore, they are, and with the highways we see, they are available within 2 hours thing. I think DMSA for documentation is necessary to compare the result, to document and to compare the results. What you do in the absence of DMSA is what we did 25 years back and go on presumption, conjecture, which is not, you have to have, because acute pyelonephritis, you can have only indirect evidence. There is no direct lab evidence to confirm acute pyelonephritis, but for DMSA. So I'm lost if you ask in today's day and age, I do not want to think. You can go by an indirect evidence of an IVU with scarring and all that. But I thought a nuclear scan is de rigueur in every case of febrile UTI in today's world.
Thank you. Now, before summarizing the scenario, any questions from the audience? Okay. So to conclude this scenario, yes, sir.
A lot of pediatricians using long-term antibiotics, sir. Long-term antibiotics.
What is the problem in using long-term antibiotics?
Reflex of urine.
In reflux.
So I think sir is referring to the prophylactic
I was
antibiotics.
very clear, sir. There is no role for long-term. Yes, after reflux surgery.
Even with the renal scarring, they are using antibiotics long-term.
No need, sir. Scarring, antibiotics will not cause the scarring to disappear. It will, while awaiting surgery, it will reduce the incidence of febrile UTI and indirectly may reduce further scarring. That's it. Antibiotics do not heal scars. They heal an episode of acute pyelonephritis. That's all. There is no role for long-term antibiotic for scars. Either you correct it, document the scars. Once we do reflux surgery, we need to give antibiotics for a minimum period of 1 year or until a repeat MCU shows no reflux. That's it. There is no role for long-term antibiotic. Yes, in grade 1 and 2, you can give, but that is reflux is due to minor reasons. There is edema at the cystitis, edema is causing that minor reflux. Any antibiotic will heal that. But long-term antibiotics, it's not. We do give long-term antibiotic in special situations, PUE with reflux. Okay, there we give it for 2 years. We have a cutoff period of 2 years. We give it for 2 years. But those are beyond the scope of this discussions.
Okay, sir. I conclude this scenario. So just to summarize whatever we have discussed. So as we have discussed, UTI requires a protocolized management. That's what all the panel members say. And so we would like to say that please save the nephrons, identify the congenital anomalies early, because almost 20% of them have urinary tract anomalies which cause recurrent UTI. So I hope the time is up and we'll wind up. So this is just a summary of the entire panel discussion that we had just now. So just to say that infections can be.
KK, you want to discuss appendicitis? No.
I think the time is up, sir.
You want us to wind up? Thank you. We'll do it.
So to summarize, surgical infections are common right from head to foot. All infections are seen in the office practice. And again and again, the emphasis is on clinical discretion, surgeons' clinical choice and decision making, so which would help in early referral and prompt recovery of whatever the surgical condition is. And most important thing is the team dynamics, which need to be emphasized, I think, which is very obvious here, that unless the pediatrician and pediatric surgeon come together on board, the children with these problems will find it difficult to recover early. So I emphasize that team dynamics is very important to get these children treated and have a prompt and early recovery. Thank you. Thank you, our panel members. Thank you, sir.
I thank the moderator and the panelists for
Thanks. I never expected more than 10 people at 8 in the morning. Thank you so much.
that was a surprise for you,
For the
sir.
people who made the effort to come in early.
I thank the moderator and the panelists for that interesting session. And it's always pleasing to watch the pediatric surgeons talk and deliberate. And I'm sure from now on, when we pediatricians happen to have Nungu or more, we'll definitely be reminded of Puduvai Pedicon and not to forget the gutter also. So I now request our President, IAP Tamil Nadu State Chapter, Dr. Ismail sir, to hand over the memento to the moderator, Dr. G. Krishna Kumar. Thank you, sir. I request our President, IAP Tamil Nadu State Chapter, Dr. Ismail, to hand over the memento to my teacher, Professor and HOD, ICH Pediatric Surgery, Dr. R. Velmurugan.
Appadina vayasayirchu. Doctor is a professor now.
Thank you, sir.
See, the Priscilla and this girl, Vidhu, they are ICH postgraduates. Monday afternoon to Tuesday afternoon, they will make me take over 2 to 3 cases of empyema every week. They take these lessons very seriously. Very hardworking people, very happy to see them here.
Happy to hear that too, sir. I now request our past President, IAP Tamil Nadu State Chapter and the organizing chair of Puduvai Pedicon, Dr. Aram Chandil, to hand over the memento to the panelists, Professor Dr. Ravindran. I request Dr. Aramchandra to hand over the memento to Dr. R. Rangarajan. Sorry, to hand over the memento to Dr. Ravindran. Picture perfect. We now move ahead with the next scientific session. I now request Dr. T.N. Manohar, Senior Consultant Pediatrician from the city of Chennai, past President IAP Chennai City Branch, to chair the next